Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the fifth annual Big Give. I'm Ember Burke. I do outreach and communications here at the Alliance. Um, I am joined by Lisa Feehery, and we are honored to have her here with us today. She comes to you, oh my gosh, with a plethora of great tips and tricks that she's going to be sharing with us. She is on our board, and she is mom to Gavin, who has Dup15q syndrome and who's 15 years old, even though I just thought he was, I feel like, so much older because he's such a tall, handsome young man. But again, just as a reminder, our aim today is to raise $50,000 for our Ladder Learning Network. And our theme of this year's Big Give is Dup15q syndrome does not come with a manual, but it comes with a family that never gives up. And Lisa, this is perfect because you are definitely a parent to Gavin, a mom of kids, a wife, and such an advocate and such an asset to our community. So thank you for everything you've done. We're going to be talking a little bit about of what we offer here at the Alliance to support our families in terms of programming. But can you first tell us, how did you gain all this knowledge on advocacy, IEP? So let's start with that.
Well, I think the necessity is the mother of invention, right? So it was necessary that I picked this up. One of the things that, it's true about our kids is that a lot of the actual therapies that our kids have, like that's the treatment. If you, early intervention is so important with, OT and PT and speech therapy and ABA. And then you move into the school system and you have to figure out those rules. And so I come with a legal background and a really strong network locally here, and worked with a lot of advocates. And I think we ran into a lot of the problems that a lot of families run into when they're dealing with the either an early intervention or in the school districts. And so I just came with a big passion to share some of that knowledge with this community, because it's so important for our kids to live their best lives.
Yeah, and I just wanted to remind everybody, so we have some super exciting news, and I know you were just on the website. So we have revamped our website, and we're so excited about it. And a lot of these resources are on there in terms of programming and what we offer to our families, and in particular, our IEP help ticket, which was launched by the IEP committee, which you are head of, Lisa. So let's talk a little bit about that IEP help ticket. What does that look like to you? And what did you envision that to be when it started? And what would you like people to know about it?
Well, first of all, I want to compliment the whole team on the website. The remake it's very slick and it's really easy to navigate. And there are so many resources on it. So I just encourage everybody to go look at that. But if you go to the education section, I think it's under programming, there's a whole handbook about how, what is the IEP process. So you start with a vision for what you want for your child. And then you need to get a good snapshot of your child. So you have to get really solid present levels, because that's how you're going to figure out where the gaps are and figure out what the goals should be. And then once you have the goals, you need to figure out accommodations and other supports to help your child be successful at meeting those goals. And then you have to be monitoring progress all along. And then if there's any hiccups in the process, which there often are, there's suggestions about how to deal with that. So there's a whole handbook that is written from, like I said, I think you said a committee of parents, advocates, lawyers that have, a hard-won experience in this area. And so use those resources. But if there are any other questions, you have a specific question, we have a help ticket. So it's a little form you can just fill out, your name, your contact information, what your question is. And that goes to a committee to, all contribute their advice, how they would approach those problems. And then we get back to the question or for, in a couple of days. So it's not like pure legal information, because we can't be offering you legal advice. There's all different states and different situations, and we might not know everything, but we can definitely give you some good advice about where to go, how to handle it, the next steps. We've given parents contacts for places when they've moved. We've gotten them doctors in local areas when the incident was caused by a medical condition. There were behaviors that were caused by medical behavior. So we had, sort of a multi-pronged approach for that individual. So there's been lots of cases where we've really helped parents in a very stressful situation, or just a situation where there's been a lot of changes, and we're happy to help you.
What do you think, if in terms of advocacy, what is the best way, do you think, to approach it as a parent when you're approaching a team?
So I think the best way is a collaborative approach, right? Mm-hmm. So everybody really wants to do the right thing, but they might not know about how to help your particular child. Your child is really unique, has unique attributes, but they also have Dup15q, and that creates some commonalities too, right? Like the flavor of autism that our kids have mm-hmm. is really peculiar. And the approaches that you might use for our kids are a little bit different. They also have some motor issues, and supporting their motor needs might also help with their engagement in language. I just think that, working together with the team and just continually educating them, that is the first thing I would say. The second thing I would say is that this is a real process, right? This is a marathon. Your kid is going to be in school for a very long time. Mm-hmm. And so, you want the team to be working with you rather than against you for all these years. But the second thing is that you should be having regular meetings, and you should be looking at the progress on a regular basis. It's not a once a year or once every other year thing. So just be engaged. And the third thing I would say is really take advantage of your local resources. So you won't know all the possible placements that your child could be put into, like all the different schools or programs, but other parents will know. And so it's really a good idea to find out not only what the other educational programs there are and the school choices that you might have, but also other extracurricular type programs, mm-hmm. Different events, sports programs, social programs, therapy programs that other families have found and have really benefited from.
Lisa, one thing I hear a lot in our community, I hear the word or phrase, get an advocate. So when someone says that, I guess I have two questions. Like, what does that actually look like? And when do you know when it's time to bring in another party?
So I would say it's time to bring in another party all the time, whether it's your spouse or a friend or your parent. It's always good to go to these meetings with another pair of eyes and ears, because they're talking about your kid. It's an emotional thing. And it's really a good idea to have somebody else, mm-hmm. listening and reminding you to say certain things or to bring up certain points and concerns. So you should always have somebody else. Sometimes it's really intimidating to be in a room and there's all these specialists and then you on the other side of the table. So just for balance, I would say always bring somebody. When you bring in, when people talk about advocates, they often mean professional advocates. So that could be a lawyer or just somebody with a lot of experience in special ed. And sometimes advocates are even part of a law firm. Sometimes they're just not. So I think, these are people that you would pay on an hourly basis. They might review your child's evaluations. They might look at the goals. They might give you suggestions. They could be doing that offline before you go to a meeting, or they might join you in the meeting. And sometimes having somebody that just has a lot more experience, they've been through a lot of IEP meetings. Mm-hmm. A lot of times that helps bring perspective to the table. They might know of a child that has a similar issue that your child has, and they can bring a solution that has been done in a different school district, or other out of the box thinking that helps people move the case along.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. That's great advice, Lisa. Thank you. What about ESY? When I think of ESY, I actually heard someone recently, obviously the goal of ESY extended school year, which is a program for kids with special needs, so they do not regress over the summer. I mean, I have heard a situation where they said the child who has Dup15q syndrome did not qualify. Have you ever heard that before in terms of extended school year?
I have heard of it.
Mm-hmm.
Almost all of our kids would qualify for ESY.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, all kids, even typically developing kids, regress a bit during the summer because there's such a long break.
Mm-hmm.
But our kids, need that continuity even more. So I would say almost in all situations, if you look at the data, it would warrant having ESY. I'd also like to bring up the fact that ESY is extended school year. So most people think of that in terms of a summer program, whether it's in your district or another program. But ESY actually could be construed to mean anything that's extra to the school day. So, for example, we were able under ESY to get home ABA services paid by our school district. He needed to be primed for the next day's work. So,
yeah.
And he needed extra reinforcement for the skills that he was learning during the day. And so you can actually have extra tutoring or ABA services or other services outside of the school day also qualify for ESY. It's a little known fact.
Interesting. And I just brought up ESY because, as we're heading towards the end of the school year, it's just kind of on my mind and what that's going to look like for my son. But yeah, and I feel like sometimes when you're at that table, they don't present you with a platter of everything. So that knowledge is just so powerful, like going in prior to, whether it's, if you have an advocate or just reaching out to the IEP ticket to make sure that your child is getting everything he or she needs to be successful. Well, you know what? We have some more presentations coming up, but I wanted to thank you so much, Lisa. You dedicate so much time and energy and knowledge to the Alliance over the years, and we're so incredibly grateful. I want to remind everybody, please check out our website, our resources, and also our goal is to raise $50,000 again for the Ladder Learning Network. So continue joining us throughout the day. And thanks again, Lisa. Thank you.
Nice to see you, Amber.
Okay, take care. Thank you.